Story of Svetlana Alexandrova.
The incident which I wish to relate does not in and of itself constitute anything special, but the consequences of it in our family were both unexpected and considerable. My nephew, on the eve of the commemoration of the murder of the royal family, was preparing for an examination in mathematics, algebra and geometry, and fell into complete despair. He could not adequately prepare himself for a grade of excellent, but if he received any other grade he would not pass the competition for technical school. I persuaded him to rely on the will of God and on the intercession of the Tsar Martyr and to go to the examination with the words, "Lord, have mercy on me." With tears, I implored the Tsar and all the members of his family to pray to the Lord, that he be merciful to us sinners. The point is that my mother and I had high hopes that, in the event of my nephew's enrollment in technical school, he would have less time to hang around in the street and participate with his friends in various indecent, evil activities. And something unbelievable happened. The examination passed as though in a dream. He did not remember how he answered, or what supplementary questions they asked him, but he nevertheless received the desired grade. This was a miracle for him, for me, and most importantly, for my mother, who in the recent past had not only been an atheist but, for 15 years, had unfailingly made a scene every time I went to church. Nothing, neither words nor facts, could shake her active hostility towards the faith. Now she reveres the Tsar Martyr and prays to him and to other saints of whom she knows, especially to Saint Seraphim of Sarov, in life's difficult situations, and perhaps even constantly. And she is even trying to convert my sister, her daughter, to the faith.
Story of Monk Ippolit of the Zosima Hermitage, near Moscow. Before my entrance into the monastery, as I recall, I brought a portrait of Tsar Nicholas II and his wife, Empress Alexandra, to my parents. Since they were taught during the Soviet period to think of the Tsars as despotic, my parents were puzzled that there could be talk of glorification and looked with alarm at these two portraits, hung in a prominent place. My mother immediately recalled Bloody Sunday in 1905, but being a God-fearing woman from childhood, she restrained herself from too many opinions and only posed the question, "How can this be?" to herself. My father, by his own admission an unbeliever, did not spare his opinions, but since he had a grudge against the communists at that time, he expressed sympathy for the fate of the royal martyrs. The nervousness of our domestic atmosphere, with various comments directed at the Tsar, aggravated the critical situation of my parents or, to be more precise, of my father. He was threatened with prison since he, through his simplicity and ignorance, had fallen in with a crowd of swindlers. They had already been indicted for a criminal act, interrogations had already taken place, and a date for the trial had been appointed. Then my father had a dream at night. Tsar Nicholas II himself stood there in an officer's uniform of the Royal Army with shoulder straps. He was tall, blue-eyed and radiant. He stood half-turned towards my father, and someone dressed in black said, "Pray to him and he will help you," and my father bowed down before him. He further recalled that the Tsar was surrounded by his family. After this dream, my father and mother went to a small village church dedicated to the Archangel of God, Michael, and all the heavenly bodiless hosts, and had a molben served to the royal martyrs, which the parish priest agreed to serve, after first hearing about the dream my father had. Guess what happened? About 3 or 4 days later there was a coup in Moscow. Immediately thereafter there was a coup in the regional government, and the head of the local government, who hated my father and wanted in any way possible to convict him and send him to prison, was replaced. The change of officials gave hope for my father to be treated with leniency. After a while the trial took place. My father was given 1 year of probation. Later he was given amnesty. After this incident, my father's attitude towards the Tsar changed and even became reverent. Now that he had felt real help, he who until then had disparaged all things holy, he ran again, when he encountered ordinary difficulties, to him from whom he had seen this help, to Tsar Nicholas II and all the royal martyrs, and that's the way it was. My father, a farmer, once found himself with nothing to sow. There were no seeds for planting, and this threatened him not only with being left without money, but with having to give away all his possessions to settle his debt. Again he, together with my mother, had a molben served to Tsar Martyr Nicholas and all the royal martyrs. Immediately after this, the superior of a nearby monastery came to see my father at home and told him that he had an acquaintance who wanted to give him seeds for planting. All the land was planted, 370 acres.